Okay, good evening and welcome everybody. 7 o'clock on the dot, nearly, just a little bit late. Hey, welcome to tonight's webinar from the Property Factory. And like I always do, can someone just please tell me they can hear me? Just so that I know I'm not talking to myself. Oh, Lara, you're so sweet, thank you. Lara works for us, by the way. And secondly, I know my light's terrible, but can you just let me know if you can see me as I've just turned my video on? So I know that the camera's working, because tonight we're going to try some really sexy stuff. Thanks, Greg Lee. Hey, I'll turn my video off while I do the boring intro. So we're going to do a different one tonight. We're going to actually try we've never done this before. We're going to try some video and drone footage on our website through the webinar software. We've never done that before, so hopefully that one works. And yeah, and hopefully cover off some interesting things for you all. So I'll get through the boring admin stuff for the people that haven't met us before or know who we are. Bit of an agenda. I'm going to give you a quick Christchurch Property Market update. In week 7, we entered week 7 today of the lockdown, and give you a bit of an update on our in the world of property from the Property Factory. I'm then going to take you back in time in Christchurch, and then I'm going to talk about boring things like jobs and people and money and population growth, which are all very relevant in this current climate in terms of the questions we're getting asked, and I'll talk about that. But that's going to go back to the future, and then it's going to look forward. Economics 101 about supply and demand. Economics 202, the value is in the long game. And then we're going to try the good old site tour of 350 Colombo Street virtually, and then we're going to talk to you how we can still help you at level 3 and 2 during this lockdown. So a bit about me. Who am I? I am a North Canterbury lad who was trucked off to Hong Kong as a teenager, and I think that gave me a bit of a different perspective on life. Or not, I'm not sure. I think it did. But anyway, I guess my claim to fame is that I bought my first property at a pretty young age. I'm 51, so you can do the math, how old I was when I bought my first property. But there was no one to help me. It just happened. My wife and I, that lovely woman in the middle of those driveway shot, we moved to Christchurch. We moved from Christchurch to Wellington to get our first sort of corporate jobs, and that led to a career in property, completely by chance. And I've been now 27 years in the industry. I've been renovating for 25 years, trading and investing for 15. I developed for 3, and if there's any developers on this webinar, I offer you my condolences. It's a horribly tough and difficult game developing, and it's stressful and it's risky and all the rest of it. So we won't be teaching any of our clients to develop this time anytime soon. I've also spent time as an investment lender. I probably learned more in those years than anything else. If I look at real learnings, I learned that in the developing of what happens when things go horribly wrong, when banks withdraw $60 million loan facilities and how you deal with that. But more recently, I've been involved in the agency world. Never for anyone else, by the way. I have never worked for a real estate agency. I've only owned real estate agencies, and that's because I don't think I could go and work in a selling people's homes business. Our real estate agency experience is completely investment related. So currently I'm running a listing agency. We've also got a selling agency, so I should update that. I'm still trading and I'm investing. In fact, I haven't told my beloved business partner this today, but one of the reasons that I was a bit hard to get hold of, I was doing a lot of due diligence on a property deal that I'm pretty keen to buy. I'd love to be able to look back on these crazy weeks and months and years and say that yes, I bought a property during COVID-19. Not because of any other reason that I subscribe to the legendary Warren Buffett's, when people are fearful, be greedy, and when people are being greedy, be fearful. This hasn't stopped my approach to property at all. So anyway, property's been good to me. It's given me some amazing experience. I've got some fabulous clients. I've got some great properties that I've been involved in, still own. yeah, it's been an amazing journey for me. And at 51, I guess I've still got many years in me. I've also got an 87-year-old father who's still, he settled a property last week. Unbelievable. He's 87, an investment property in Queenstown. He did it with cash. And he is completely self-made through, well, he was a judge in Hong Kong, but so he had a very good salary when he was working. But when he retired, he's probably tripled his net wealth through property. And he ironically didn't get me into property. I found my way into it myself, but I've certainly helped him and a whole lot of other family members into real estate. So I guess in summary, I'm a property guy. And if you haven't heard me before or read any of my articles and magazines that I write, I run a pretty low profile. I'm good at talking, but I'm not what you'd call I'm not an egocentric property person. And I apologise for the lights. We live in a 1920s house, even though we don't sell old properties. I'm still an emotional tragic when it comes to houses. And just to give you a bit of background there, I still do a hell of a lot of due diligence. We looked at 50 properties when we moved to Christchurch last year. I did serious due diligence on 10, made unconditional offers on 4. And at the beginning of that whole exercise, I said to my wife, we are not buying old properties. There's no money in them. It's just a stupid thing to do. And we bought a 1920s beautiful villa that somebody had restored. So because this isn't our business, this is our home, but hence the lights. This is I think it was a whiskey room that I've turned into my office. So yeah, I'm a property person, and I don't run around beating my chest, but I guess I have had some pretty good wins in property. I've learned a lot, and I love helping other people into it because our home ownership rates are tragically dropping, and it's sad. And every millennial I meet, I try and talk them into buying property because they've never, ever had it so good in getting into property. But they're too busy updating their Facebook feeds and their Instagram sites to think about it. And I think I've got my kids converted, but I'll move to their friends next. So that's me and the Property Factory. So I tried to solve a problem with Auckland University. I did a very expensive quasi-MBA with them for small business owners. And my problem was, why have we got a housing shortage when we've got 15,000 real estate agents, a huge construction industry? Why aren't people buying houses? Why aren't investors buying more properties? Why aren't owners, why aren't first-time buyers? That was my problem. That was my thesis. And I basically came up with the Property Factory as a container door or a direct selling business. We have cut a lot of the fat out for property investors to get into the market from a cost point of view. We don't charge for coaching or educating or mentoring or tutoring. We back ourselves that we've been doing what we've been doing for a very long time, and that our listings, our properties that we find tick 9.99% out of 10 boxes, where if you just rock up and buy any old property, you might be lucky to tick 4 or 5 out of 10 boxes, because property is not just about the colour of the fence or even the location. You can get absolute crap properties in great locations. So our expertise is in due diligence. It's in identifying great deals, not good deals, great deals. So developers and builders love us, but we turn down 9 and 10. We're very, very fussy and selective. And when I have very different discussions with vendors that most real estate agents have, because they're normally on their knees begging for a listing, whereas I'm going, sorry mate, your product ain't good enough for us, and they bug it off. And anyway, I walk away and say, sorry, but thank you for giving me the opportunity not to list your property. So we have a priority access for clients, and you can get that priority access for free. And the reason that we do that is that we actually do a bit of homework on you before we take you on as a client. And that's not because we don't like you, it's because we need to know what we can do for you. And that comes down to your numbers. And I'll talk about that at the end. And we aim to provide opportunities that are better than anything else in the market. And I guess I keep needing to update this, but we're probably up to 2,400 properties now. And we must be over $1 billion of real estate that we've done. So I guess the practice is in the pudding. We're not a brand new bunch of guys that have just come up with a good idea. We are a very seasoned bunch of professionals that know what we're doing, and over 50 years of combined experience in our team. So I said I'm going to give you a Christchurch market update, and normally I do a whole lot of slides and do a whole lot of metrics, but to be honest, I was buried in due diligence on a deal today, and I thought, well, there's one slide that says it all. The blue line is Auckland, the green line is Wellington, and the orange line is Hamilton. And Christchurch's property market update is nothing has changed, and that's wonderful, because if you've watched any of our other webinars, and this stuff's on our website, you want to buy at 6 o'clock, not at 9 or 10 or 11 or 12. And sometimes it still makes sense to buy at those time frames. If we use the property clock as our guide to where market's at, being low or high, 6 is low, 12 is high. Christchurch has been flat for too long, and there's a bunch of reasons that I'm going to go through tonight. That's the market update. It's going to go up. It's not if, it's when. And I can't put that in writing in an unconditional contract to you, but what I can do is bet the silverware on it. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't buy in other locations, but it means that right now I cannot fathom Christchurch not getting capital growth in the coming years, because property is not this week or this month. And this COVID-19, I'm not even going to talk about it tonight, except to say, even if it was a year, and it's not because of the government's swift action, but even if it was a year, it wouldn't change the metrics in locations like Christchurch, or infill housing in Auckland, or infill housing in Hamilton. Property is one of these great businesses where there's no better time to invest than now. And the two most common questions we're getting right now is, should we wait for a discount? And I go, yeah. I got offered a 20% discount yesterday. And but it's not a property you'd buy, because it's not an investment property. Great home, but not an investment property. And people are often tempted by the deal. And sometimes our deals don't get discounts because we know they're going to sell, and we know they're really good, and the vendor doesn't need to discount them. So property is not about screwing the last dollar out of someone. It's actually about identifying the right deal, and that's investment property. If it's your home, hey, you might want to get a bargain so that when you sell it, you can make a capital gain. No problem. But you've got to put up living with a property that might not be perfect for you, or you may have just got a great deal. But in the world of investment sales, most vendors are not desperate, and they've got, especially our business, decent balance sheets, and they are there for the long term. So, yeah, don't be led to believe that if there's a great discount, or if the deal sounds too good to be true, it could be. We get excited about our deals, but at the same time, we've done a lot of homework. So Christchurch right now is, in my opinion, stupidly low in value, and that's the median sale price there. And if you can't read that slide, Christchurch median sale price is around about that $420,000 to $30,000 mark. No, it's a bit higher than that. Sorry, it's 4. I haven't got the numbers in front of me. It's in the 4s, whereas Hamilton has now hit the 6s. Wellington's into the 8s, and Auckland's still over the $1 million. So even if you're not a finance person, that ain't rocket science when Christchurch is New Zealand's second largest city. Okay, so let's go back in time. This is back to the future, or back to the past and then to the future. In 2011, 80% of Christchurch's CBD was destroyed or demolished, 80%. And that is a photo of the minutes after the earthquake. And what you can't see there is that most of those buildings in that picture were subsequently pulled down. A couple fell down, but most of them were pulled down. And the devastation, to be put in context, 80%. And the CBD of Christchurch is, I'm going to show you a map of it in a minute. And what happened after that, the government, the council, government organisations got very involved in rebuilding Christchurch, because as New Zealand's second largest city, it was seen as a very, very obviously important, biggest centre. It's the gateway to the South Island. So they came up with a central city recovery plan, and part of that was going out to the people to find out what they wanted. And David, just can you make a note? We need to put this on our website. It's a very good document. And they went out to the people and they said, what do you want for your city? Tell us what you want. They received over 100,000 suggestions and somehow collated those. And how often does a city get to do that? How often do people get to dictate, decide, contribute to what their city is going to be? And it was an amazing process. 100,000 people contributed to that. I mean, I just find that 20% of the population, just under 20% of the population. That's amazing. They went overseas. It's, you know, if you ever had an opportunity for full democracy in the world of cities, this was it. And this is the download. It's called Christchurch. If you Google it, you can download it yourself. It's called the Christchurch Central Recovery Plan. And this is obviously not for the whole of Canada. This was the central area. And in this document, back in 2000, I think it came out in 2012. It might have been in 2011 because the major earthquake was in February 2011. They collated this information and they said, this is our blueprint. And it was an amazing process to watch. We've been involved in the rebuild. I moved to Christchurch last year, but we've been involved in the rebuild since 2012 or 13. So I've seen it go from the demolition. I was here when the army was on the ground. So I've seen it from the start to today. I wasn't here for that tragic day, but I've seen it firsthand being built. Been involved with a lot of projects in Christchurch and a lot of rebuild in Christchurch. And if I had to make a guesstimate in terms of where the rebuild's at, I reckon it's about 75% finished. We are definitely at the tail end of it. And yeah, I strongly recommend that you download that document. So this is now jumping into the devil in the detail. One of the amazing things that the government did, and they're doing it now with COVID-19, they committed the country's resources to rebuilding Christchurch. And they committed to funding, facilitating, fast tracking 17 major infrastructure projects. And when I say 17 major, this is not commercial, this is not private developers, this is the government, the council, and the organisations that were created to rebuild the city. And they're all within the 4 avenues of Christchurch. And if you look at Christchurch, I think this map is 18 something. It's a very flat city. It's a very straightforward city. If you're driving down any street in Christchurch and stick your compass on, you'll notice that it's going to be pointing perfectly north, perfectly south, perfectly east, or perfectly west. They didn't get too architectural when they decided to carve up Christchurch, and they've taken some of these roads out. But back in the day, Christchurch was decided to look like a maths book of squares and straight lines. And if we look at it at the time back then, it was a home to 560,000 residents, and it contributed 12% of the country's GDP. So you can understand why the government was pretty keen to make sure it was looked after. Now, population has increased since then, and it's now larger than Wellington. So Christchurch it's not a tin pot town. So the whole 80% of the CBD being destroyed facilitated these infrastructure projects to have locations. And that's not to be sneezed upon, because land in most cities is not available. But in the face of tragedy and adversity and stress and all the horrible things that people had to go through in those early years, what it did, it freed up land, and it also gave the government, council, economy an ability to start again. Now, one of the reasons Christchurch is so cheap today is that the land values in the city were reset. They were re-established. And not only were they reset and re-established, they were rebuilt. So land repatriation or fixing of the land had to happen before you could build anything. So every new property since 2011 in Christchurch, that's 9 years ago, is on brand new land, or it's got a foundation solution that deals with the issues with the type of earthquake that hit in 2011. So let's just go through a few of these infrastructure projects. The convention centre, 475 million. It's nearly complete from an outside point of view. This is a huge project right in the middle of town. That's going to bring a lot of events, a lot of conferences, a lot of trade shows. It's going to bring so much commerce to the city. And tragically, the Auckland conference venue was massively damaged in a fire last year, or this year. It was this year. That's actually good news for Christchurch, because these delegations need somewhere to go that can host lots of people. And, this will become the icon for the country once it's complete. And they're already taking booking. They've been taking bookings for a long time. It's nearly finished. The stadium, 470, so I put Metro Sports Centre there. This is the stadium. Rugby, singing, football. This is going to be one of only 2 covered stadiums in the country. And the specifications for it look far more, if Dunedin's got the only other covered stadium, but if Dunedin's economy class, this isn't business class, this is first class when you look at what they're going to do with it. So it's pretty cold watching sport at night in Christchurch or Dunedin or Wellington or Auckland even. So how many people, if they're going to go to one test in a series of 3, where are you going to go? So this will bring tourists, it'll bring people, and they've left it till last because it's an extremely luxury item when you think about music and sport, but it's also an important part of New Zealand's makeup, especially rugby. But they'll play football here like they do in Wellington, and other sports, rugby league. It'll be a real icon for a lot of sports, and I'd say it'll become the pick, the number 1 destination for touring teams like the Lions or any internationals that come to New Zealand, and it'll make the other cities pick up their boots, no pun intended, to get their stadium sorted. So watch this space when that's finished. The actual Metro Sports Complex has started. It's a $300 million build. And to put this in context, that image does not do it justice. That just looks like the Kilburnie Pool in Wellington. But when you look at it here, that is 2 blocks. And to see the size of this complex, and that's Cagley Park to the left, that gives you an idea how big it is. And I can look out my window and see the crane, and I live in Maryvale. I can see the crane for that complex from our house. It is a huge, huge piece of land, and it's a massive complex. And the families that I speak to, that I hang out with, we can't wait to get there with the kids, and not little kids. This complex is being built for big kids and little kids. So it's going to be a real icon of entertainment for sporting going people. Turanga, the $92 million library. And they haven't called it a library because it's not a library. It's far more than that. If you're ever in Christchurch, please go into this building. It is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And you can join this building for free. You get a library card and an access card. It's amazing. It's got a cafe on the ground floor. You can do your own film in here. It's really, really iconic. And even though it is the Library of Christchurch as well, but it's far more than that. It's got so many things you can do there. But it looks like a bookcase there with its golden colour. And that's finished. That's complete. It's been complete for some time. Bus interchange, $53 million. I had someone in the car the other week before lockdown, and I said to them, what do you think that building there is? And they said, it looks like a space design centre, or they thought it was some sort of museum. And I said, that's the bus station. $53 million bus station. The bus backs in undercover, so when you get off the bus, you don't get wet. It's got cafes, it's got seating areas, smack bang in them. It's got a movie theatre across the road. It makes Britomart look a little bit old-fashioned. So smaller projects, the Margaret Mahey Playground, $20 million. It's amazing. And not just for little kids, teenagers hang out here. It's got flying foxes and it's got all sorts of things. And there's a new pump track next door, right on the river, right in the middle of town. Very cool. So I could keep talking on. Another 11 amazing buildings being built or all complete already. But these go back to how this relates to property. Well, they bring people, first to build them, but then people stay. They bring jobs. They bring tourists, and whilst we're not flying around the world at the moment, it will open up again. But it'll also bring New Zealand tourists and from afar. They bring business spending for commercial outlets, retail outlets and hotels. And one of the other reasons that Christchurch has stayed flat is that the population isn't finished yet. It hasn't come. But the population is greater than it was before the earthquake, so Christchurch has grown. But proportionately to the rest of the country, it hasn't grown because we haven't had the housing, we haven't had the jobs, and that is increasing all the time. And that's one of the other reasons to buy in Christchurch now before it's full. Within the 4 Avs, they estimate right now there's about 7,000 permanent residents within the 4 Avs. That forecast is to go to 20,000. So it's going to triple. And the only comparison I can experience in that space, when I got moved to Hong Kong in the 80s, it always just seemed full. But it went from 5.5 million people to 7 million people, but I didn't notice it. Whereas when I moved to Wellington in my 20s, you could walk down Lambton Quay or Willis Street on the weekend and skateboard down the middle of the road. There was no cars, there was no people. It was a ghost town because at that time there were 200 head offices and government businesses. There were no inner city apartments. They hadn't started. They started in the 90s when they started converting commercial office space to apartments, and then started building new apartments. So in the 90s in Wellington, there was no apartment CBD. It was very different. And if I look at Christchurch now, it reminds me of where Wellington was probably in the middle of the 90s, because it actually has got a vibrant CBD and it has got people living there and it has got people enjoying it. Whereas Wellington was just a ghost town, and now it's like New York, it's like Manhattan. This is where it's these buildings actually are the core and the base of bringing people, jobs, commercial spending. They also bring a heart and soul, and whilst I'm a Cantab, I've actually spent most of my life in the North Island. And I love Wellington. My son's at Victoria University. Some of my nearest and dearest friends and family, my father's there, my cousin's there, my 2 cousins actually. And Wellington and the Wairarapa will always be a very, very special place in my heart. But Christchurch, this has been the easiest move for me I've ever had in my whole moving around time. I've fallen well back in love with this city. I'm arguing with my wife all the time about moving back out to Sumner Redcliffs. But we've got kids at school just around the corner, so that's not happening anytime soon. But it is a beautiful city, and that's why they called it the Garden City. And when you get to rebuild something like that, that's pretty cool. So let's quickly jump to the economic argument. Forget my emotions and love story with Christchurch. The jobs that I said, businesses, that's all real. And whilst a lot of those retailers are empty at the moment, not even before COVID-19, it's because the population isn't here yet. But those buildings ain't going anywhere because they're brand new and they're finished. But let's look at the economic argument of supply and demand. I call it Economics 101. There's a movie called Field of Dreams, and the saying in the movie was, build it and they will come. And that's happening. That's happening here right now. But there's always a lag between supply and demand. If demand's there, you've got to wait for the supply. And one of the things about property and why I find it so simple is that the law of economics is so in play in real estate. And when developers rush out and put too many sections on the market or houses on the market, we get oversupply and prices drop. When smart developers release things in smaller amounts, or wealthy developers, because sometimes that's an economical situation in its own right, supply demand's more balanced. So if you don't know economics, read some books on it, but the economic argument for Christchurch is very strong without giving an economics lecture. Demand's increasing, that increases supply. Yes, you get little pockets of oversupply and undersupply. And the economic argument for Christchurch, if you talk to an economist, is extremely strong. It's also the gateway to the South Island. I heard a stat last week as a keen skier that all of the ski fields in central Otago are expecting to be 50% down this winter because of COVID-19. Now, this is terrible to say this, but I've already told our family that we're going to ski more in central Otago this winter than Christchurch. As much as I love Christchurch, I believe that Christchurch's ski fields will probably have the same amount of people on them than they did last year, because people drive there from Christchurch, and over 500,000 people live here. If I do ski Christchurch, I'll probably ski the club fields, because I think Mount Hutt will be as full as it was last year. But Coronet Peak, Cadrona, the Remarkables, 50% down based on lack of international tourists. If they turn the Australians on, that might pop up. But all of the operators down there are planning and hiring for 50% less volume than last year. But at least they're turning the ski lifts on. So I know I'm going to get skiing in this year. And even if you're not a skier, it's also the gateway to the South Island from overseas and from Auckland and Wellington. Most people fly to Christchurch, drive, or Queenstown if you're a skier. But yeah, so it is the gateway to the South Island. Back to economics 101. This is a very cheap place to live versus New Zealand's other cities. So it's a livable city, but it's also a very economical city on your own pocket. Nationally, jobs are paid at similar rates. And Wellington CBD has the highest income per capita in New Zealand. But if you average out jobs across the board, nationally, all salaries are pretty much equal, varying the higher paid roles. But even then, a CEO in Christchurch gets similar to a CEO in Wellington, a CEO in Auckland, apart from the big one-offs like your banks or your publicly listed businesses. But if you look at a CEO for a council or a library or a commercial building business, similar rates. Same with blue-collar workers, white-collar workers. Nationally, jobs are all paid at similar rates. And what I'm hearing at the moment in the groundswell is that there are a lot of young people moving to Christchurch because it's cheap. And as more jobs come on down here, more people move down here. One of our our team who's on contract, he lives in Ireland, and he is from Wellington, and him and his wife are really debating whether they're going to move back to Wellington or Christchurch. And I reckon I'll move to Christchurch because it's so much cheaper for them to come down here, and their dollars for their first house will go further. So that is a great sign because it's obviously an increasing market. Economics 202. Now I'm just going to do something here. So I'm just going to quickly just check my questions because I like to have a look at those. I'm going to drink of water. Hang on 2 seconds. Right, replenish the vocal cords. So economics 202. So 101, basic laws of supply and demand. If you don't understand that, please buy an economics book, Google it. I think all property investors should understand three things to varying levels of degree of knowledge. Economics is actually probably equal with accounting. And accounting is boring. Economics can be boring. But if you understand economics and accounting, I reckon you're 70% of the way there. The other 30% is the law. You need to understand the law if you're going to be a serious property investor. But in that order, economics, accounting even, law third. Those three things, if you understand those very well, you should be a very good property investor. If you're an emotive person and you don't know economics, accounting or law, do not get into property apart from your home. Being a bit harsh there, but I am generalising. Not my laptop. Excuse me. I normally plug it into a big screen, but I can't do that with these webinars. Okie dokie. So, why isn't my mouse working? Here we go. So, this is Economics 202. If you study economics and understand it, these are some of the terms you'll hear. If you want to get into property, you need to understand it. Return on investment, ROI. Gross yield is the annual rent over the purchase cost of a property. Net yield is the annual rent less the expenses over the purchase cost of a property. Rental property is a yield-based business. Now, if you understand math and buy into this concept, which isn't a concept, it's a proven methodology of how property is valued. If you look at it as a yield-based asset and as a business, you're probably 90% of the way there, because it all comes down to the numbers. And valuers who set values on new builds, value existing builds, value homes, when it comes to investment property, they're retrospectively, did I spell that right? Retrospectively valuing on the capitalisation of rent. Now, some people will not know what I just said. So I'll repeat it, but it'll probably still won't make sense to you. But valuers are retrospectively valuing on the capitalisation of rent. Not all the time, but often they will. And what that means is that the rent level that you're getting for your rental can have an impact or dictate the value of the property, depending where it is in the market and a whole bunch of other things. But just as a general concept, rent actually has quite a big impact on value. So if we agree and buy into the concept that Christchurch rents are comparatively lower than other cities, and I don't think they're comparatively low, I think they're majorly lower, arguably Christchurch property is undervalued. So under-rented properties, if you know a property is under-rented and its price is set by the market sale in the location, you could be onto something. And it's quite hard to do that, and you need to spend a lot of time. You've got to be quite disciplined to do it. But a lot of serious property investors do that all the time. But if we look at the macro picture or the big picture and take cities, you don't need to do the math. I've already done it for you. Christchurch rents are comparatively lower than other cities, okay, and in a major way. Now, there's a lag of valuation to interest rates. And I won't go into this because this is deep economics, but interest rates are a very significant component on how property is valued, how prices are set. They're a really key part to everything because so many builders, developers, investors, homeowners borrow money to buy property. So interest rates are very much tagged to this, and without getting into a deep economical discussion about it, typically interest rates lag behind property values. And that can do two things. It can send them up and down, but then other things get factored into it, including supply and demand. So this lag with interest rates in New Zealand is far less relevant on value because we've got a housing shortage. So the supply perspective actually overrides the interest rate changes that we're getting, which are all going down. But in different market economies, dropping of interest rates could drop the price of property. But we won't go into that now. In New Zealand, that ain't happening. So if you do the capitalisation rates of similar properties model, you can actually find which ones are cheaper than or better value than the others. But I'm not here to show you how to do that now. I'm just giving you the fact that valuers use rent capitalisation to value properties, and it enables you to compare properties if you're using that method. And once we start bringing in some educational modules to our website, we'll explain all that in deeper detail. So let's pretend for a second that you buy into the fact that rent can impact the value of a property. Let's look at 303. Let's look at a property that's $500 a week, $26,000 per annum, pretty much average property. And it's being sold for $520,000, okay? So without getting a calculator out, the return on investment, gross return is 5%. And the what if the cap rate was 6%? So if the cap rate goes up, the property value goes down. And this is one thing that people struggle to get their head around, because a capitalisation rate is actually reverse of yield, but it's the same calculation. So if the cap rate is 6%, the property is now only worth $433,000. If the cap rate's 5%, it's worth $520,000. Now, if the cap rate goes down, the property value goes up. So if the cap rate's 4.5, the property value is $577,000. So that continues. Now, the most vivid example of this I can give you was a property in New Plymouth that I bought in early 2000s. It was a block of flats, and it had the same owner for a long time, and it had the same tenants for a long time. And in about 2 hours of an afternoon, when I was down there meeting some clients, I established that the rents for the whole complex were about 30% below market. Like, he was grossly under renting them, but he liked his tenants, he didn't want to chuck them out, and he was happy with his rental return. I thought, wow, this is, and because straight away I saw massive discount. I saw a grossly undervalued property just through the rental, because I understand this cap rate thing. And I thought, oh, this is exciting. And I was actually looking at it to use as a case study that night when I was meeting these clients. And I stopped doing that, and I went and put a contract on it. This is a true story in 2 hours. I put a contract on it. I think I put 20 days due diligence so I could do some homework. I talked about it that night with these clients. And I then literally won lotto, because the next day when I was back in Wellington at the time, I rang two valuers in New Plymouth and I said, what cap rates are you using to value residential property at the moment? And one of them said 6.2 to 6.5, and the other one said 6.5 to 6.7. And when I did the math on the market rental and looked at what the cap rate was on the current rental, this property was grossly undervalued on cap rate. So what that meant was that New Plymouth, and it was also comparative to Wellington, the cap rates were very, very high. So I thought, oh my gosh, not only am I going to get an increase in value through rental increase, cap rates typically flow from big centre to small centre. They haven't caught up yet with other locations. Now that also comes with demand. It's not quite as formulaic as, oh, okay, if Wellington goes up, New Plymouth goes up. The economics in New Plymouth have to substantiate that. But anyway, long story short, I think I paid $650,000 or 600 and something thousand for this property, or late fives. I did not spend a cent on it. I put the rents up slowly, and I got it revalued, and I sold it for $980,000 or $960,000, all through cap rates and under rent. And that's just economics. And it was a lucky find. Whereas I look at Christchurch right now, and I believe that's every brand new rental property. And I'll back that up with the fact that property managers in the city are very conservative, and they're not when new properties come on, the discrepancy between the rent for an old property and a new property is bugger all. Whereas if you go to Wellington, the discrepancy between an old property and a new property is huge, partly because tenants are now wise to earthquakes and old apartment complexes that are under the earthquake code. And landlords have had to pick their shoes up there, and they're actually charging less rent to keep tenants. But more importantly, tenants value their safety, so they're paying more for new property. So the quality of the accommodation in Christchurch is not really shown in the rental difference. People are paying similar rent for an old property than they are for a new property. We've got one project out towards the airport where the average price in the suburb is actually higher than the new builds that we're selling, which is crazy. So sometimes things don't make sense. And that's the great thing about opportunity, and the old Warren Buffett comment that I made at the beginning of this presentation. You know, it's about understanding the math, and I'm now getting a little bit late. So that's my new Plymouth example. You might not understand this, but it is the science behind why people buy well and why people sometimes sell at a time. I didn't need to sell those flats, but when you make that, and that capital gain was in less than 18 months. So when I take a gain like that, I take it and I put that into 4 more properties. So for me, it's about I know, and I checked with the property, because I know the owner, and he was my property manager. I checked with him years later, and it hadn't jumped up that sort of jump again, and it wouldn't. So when you get an exponential gain like that, often it's a very good idea to take it. Now, if I was a long-term investor that just did investing and didn't trade, I would have held on to it, and I still would have won. But I can't help. I've been a trader most of my working life, so I'm both. I trade and invest. So that's a quick example. Right, 350 Colombo. So I might just stop my video, and what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take you for a tour of a product that I believe is grossly undervalued. This is 350 Colombo Street. Okay, so this is on our website. You can look at this at your own leisure, but I want to take you for a quick tour of it. And I did this. We're going to update this because quite a lot's happened since we did this video. But this is how it's shown on our website. There's a lot of information, but I want to actually take you through the videos. But the point in this is, let's just have a quick look at pricing off the back of that economic discussion that I showed you. These properties started in the ones at 330 was the original, was the cheapest. They're now the cheapest is 344 for the 1 bedrooms. Most expensive 1 bedrooms 385, and they go from 430 to 485 or 465 for the 2 bedrooms. Now, if these were in Auckland or Wellington, they'd probably be double the price, and that's my point about value difference. And if you look at the rent assessments for these, they're second-hand levels. And I think that's crazy, but that's reflective of where Christchurch is at right now. So it's understandable. And, you know, it's a, but I don't believe they'll last, because it's not only, it's not only the fact that it's slow at the moment with rents between old and new, it's that this is a pretty big complex. So the property managers are focused on vacancy, on occupancy versus rent levels. So I'm going to click on this video, and we're going to go through the project overview. Oh no, that's not the one I want. Sorry, I'm going to click on this video, which is 2.5 minutes. And I'm not going to listen to me because you are doing that now. But this is, David, I'm just going to pause it. Can you see that drone?
Yeah, I can see that clearly.
Cool. So I'm going to narrate it versus listening to me on the couch. So just so that you're all aware, I did that video a couple of months ago, and you can do this in your own leisure. So I'm going to make it a bit quicker now because we're running out of time. So I'll keep talking it as I see it. But first of all, this project is it's built by Fletchers, who are, in my opinion, New Zealand's probably, well, first of all, they're the largest builder. But actually, I really wanted to stop that there because I just want to make, right. So that's the drone footage. Sorry, I'm not driving the drone very well here. To put in context, this used to be the Sydenham school site, and that was when it was under construction. I don't know why these video bars pop up. That was when it was under construction, but there's 70 units in this complex. It's very big. And the main thing to look at in that shot is the open space between the blocks, the courtyard area, the car park area, the open space area. The building on your left, top left screen also has 600 square metres of commercial space under it, which will have cafes, coffee shops, bars, flower shops, convenience stores, etc. That's very rare in a residential subdivision. And these are classified as townhouses, and most townhouses in Christchurch are high density. I classify these as medium density. And for the price point, you wouldn't normally get units like this in this price band. And for me, this is my bald head from behind. How do I get that to show? Oh, you can't get rid of the bar. So this is a quick tour of inside this is a 2-bedroom that I'm sitting in. Things to look out for. First of all, the stud height's 2.7. It's also got heat pumps and air conditioners. But on top of that, it's got an airflow system, which basically takes moisture, fresh air in and takes out dirty air, and it stops the condensation building up. All of the glass is double glazed, which is compliant, which is key, not key, it's a requirement now in new builds. And every person that we've had fly down from Auckland or Wellington or Hamilton have been overwhelmed by it. And video doesn't do it justice, like website photos do things justice. So it's got features that I've never seen in this price point before. As you can see, it's got 100-year-old trees, open space. From a what you get for your money point of view, and this is when it was under construction, it's all finished now. This has so many features. So I'm just going to rip through some of those now. I'm just going to pause this in a second. But even the common area, which is paid for by a body corporate, that's Grissellina, those plants, which are very low maintenance and they're hardy. So everyone's sharing the cost of the common spaces. And they haven't put them with high maintenance plants. They've done it really sensibly. The materials they've used for the complex is extremely low maintenance, from the fences through to the buildings. As I said, normal properties of this type and this price are sort of 2.45 to 5.5 metre stud heights. This is 2.7. Most properties in the townhouse apartment space do put heat pumps in, but I've never ever seen one with an airflow system. They've also got acoustically great, higher than normal acoustic glass, and on the southern side, they've got, well, it feels like airport glass, because when you shut the door, you can't hear anything. And that's because it is a busy road. So what they've done is they've upgraded the wall insulation and the glass insulation. And I didn't actually know you could upgrade glass insulation. And to stand in there and shut the door on a busy road is crazy. And the tenants that are in that side have no problem with noise. So it just ticks so many boxes. The kitchens are integrated with the apartments or townhouses, and they've just used quality appliances throughout. Here's some more of our drone footage. And, even the drone footage watching this now doesn't do it justice, because when you're walking through the complex, it just feels so open and spacious. And the tenants that are living there and the owner-occupiers that are living there, they love it. And for us, we think this is our best kept secret at the moment. And I genuinely believe it's going to have a price rise set by the vendor soon, because as you keep selling properties down, so when we took this on, there were very few sales, and we've made a significant dent in it now. So as we sell these investment properties, at some point we know the vendor's going to put the price up. We hope it doesn't happen, but it typically does happen. It's happened with the last 3 projects we've been involved in. And there's your busy road that I was talking about, and that block there, now just to put this in context, this is 1.5 kilometres from the CBD of Christchurch. And that road, that busy road, you don't hear it when you're inside the complex, and you don't hear it when you're inside those units there on the middle of your screen. The other thing which is quite rare, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but the separation between the blocks is very rare. Huge rubbish storage there, bike storage. Like I said, these are apartments, or not, they're technically townhouses. The townhouses above Colombo Street, which are looking west, have shops below them. And getting your milk, getting your beer at the end of the night, getting a snack is going to be right on your doorstep. There's also a bus stop outside this block, and there's a mall across the road. So very, very desirable. And we're looking now southwest. So we believe that this property is undervalued. We believe that this property is a lot of rental for the money. And we really do think we've underdone it. I actually admitted that to the vendor the other day. I think we could, we haven't, I don't think we've shown it in its true light. And I'm also going to show you Sydenham here as a location. It's gone flat. It's the orange line on the screen there. So Sydenham, Christchurch is orange, and it's every suburb, most suburbs, not every, but most suburbs in Christchurch have tracked along the national, the regional price, the local price for Christchurch. So we've got a lot of metrics on our website that you can look at. But if I just go back to basics, what's it renting for? What's it selling for? And in my world, it's just too cheap. And I don't think it's going to last. And so you can see what's available on our website. We've actually had sales occur in COVID-19, which has been pretty amazing. We had some not emergency, but critical workers. So there's a whole lot of information on the site. You can download the site plan. You can download the rental assessments. All of the due diligence that you need is actually on our website. This is the complex layout. I mean, it's also got two entrances. There's one on Waverley Street there, which is north, and there's also the main entrance off Buchan Street over here. So it's quite rare for our business to have property that we can show you. So once we move to level 2 next week, assuming we do, we're happy to pick clients up from the airport if they're flying in. We are happy to take, because it's such a big complex, you need one of us, well, legally you need one of us anyway, to take you through it. And we'd love to show you through it, because it's all of the construction is pretty much gone. There's a little bit going on the western side. But it's just an amazing complex. And the one bedrooms are nearly sold out, not quite sold out yet. And there's still quite a number of 2 bedrooms left. And we think it's just an underrated project. So I might just take some Q&As here, David, or have you been answering them as we go? And should I just carry on?
You just carry on at the moment.
He's been doing such a good job for me. Okay, so back to our little website. Well, it's a big website, actually. Lots of links that you can download, lots of images of the properties. I mean, that there is 3 2-bedroom apartments, and I keep calling them apartments, townhouses, and they've all got their own lawn in front of you. They've all got their own courtyards, and they've got courtyards front and back. So you can't see it in that shot, but every single apartment that's on the ground floor has a front entrance and a back entrance. The upstairs ones only have one entrance. So I thoroughly recommend that you spend some time on our website, talk to our team. I'm down there tomorrow morning if anyone from Christchurch wants to go through it. I'm meeting a valuer to let them in for a client. It's amazing. I think it's one of the best projects we've ever had, and 1.5K from the CBD of Christchurch is pretty rare. So that was my first drone testing of our website, of the seminar software. So that's the quick tour of that. So just reiterating, I said we're only going to be an hour and I'm already over. We have some pretty cool stuff. If you want to transact with us, we won't let you go and buy a property off the cuff and without doing your homework. We fully follow all of the compliance rules of real estate. So if you're interested in one of our properties, we will provide you with a contract. You'll have time to do due diligence. If you haven't got a broker or a good lawyer, we can help you. And we've just turned on digital signing. Our rockstar Kylie in Wellington has made that happen. So you don't even have to go and print our contracts. You can do it all online. We are also... we are in the space of we are allowed to transact right now in level 3. We've been pretty busy these last couple of weeks. I was on site the other day with a valuer, on my site tomorrow. So these are selling, so don't miss out. Don't kick yourself in the butt thinking, oh, I would have missed out one of those. And the thing is, you can lock one up for free. So get one under contract and do your homework, because I think once we were lining up some really big promotions before COVID hit, including a really big event on site in the commercial space. And as soon as we hit lockdown 1, we're going to be doing that with national advertising and flying investors in. So yeah, get in quick, because we don't think they're going to last. We've also, it's finished now, we've got tenants living there. So you can talk to our property managers, valuers, building inspectors during the due diligence. And because it's not off the plan and it still qualifies for 80% lending, you can learn a lot of information just through the companies that are dealing with tenants, or the body corporate or the builder. Without talking to us. You can do all that under your own steam, or our team can help you. If anyone wants updated photos or drones, I am getting cabin fever, and the thought of tomorrow morning's visit to 350 Colombo is exciting. Whereas prior to lockdown, I was like, oh, Lara, can you go to 350? I can't be bothered. Whereas now I can't wait. So if anyone wants, and we are going to update the website with some fresh video and drone footage and photos, just to show you all that people are living there and they're happy. So if you're in Auckland or Hamilton or Wellington, please let us know and we'll send you updated info. And even if you don't buy one, during the due diligence process, you learn a lot about property. There is a body corporate involved in this, and it's an extremely well-run one. They've got the number one body corporate manager in Christchurch running the complex. Fletchers don't do things by halves. They've been a brilliant vendor to work with, and the quality of their build, the quality of the construction in this building, in this complex is I haven't seen anything like it. They're excellent. And also we can help facilitate you with brokers, mortgage brokers, financiers. We're hearing they're only processing a loan if there's a contract in place. It doesn't cost you anything to put a contract in place. We do that with you. It costs us time, but at the moment we have to do that because the banks are not processing loans without a contract in most instances. But no, so with us during level 3, it's pretty much business as usual with some rule variations. Fletchers being Fletchers, we've got some very deep protocols we've got to follow when we're on site, and I respect that. That's helping this horrible virus not spread. So you'll be given rubber gloves and probably will spray your hands a couple of times when you're there, but small problems in the scheme of what this virus has done to the world. So that's us. And I guess if you're new to us on this webinar, we would love to help you understand property better. So we've got some pretty cool products, and the main one is called an Investment Capacity Report, which tells you more than you probably know about yourself. And basically we will explain your metrics. And you can do this online. It's on our website. Just look for the Investment Capacity Report button, and or just call one of our team and they can show you how to do it. And yeah, from there you can actually transact with us. We have a team that's national. Please spend time on our website. Talk to your broker. Pre-approvals are taking time, but we can facilitate property inspections for you. Valuations, property management viewings if you want a property manager to go through it, or any of our projects. And please make use of our free services, because we're here to help. We want to see property investors get great property deals. And that's me. I'm gonna have a look at some of the questions now. So I'm just going to stop my video. David's probably been doing a diligent job answering them. And someone's asked about cap rate. What is a cap rate that you were talking about? It's basically a method of valuation. And without getting into a detail, I need a whiteboard and your attention for a good 15 minutes for me to explain it properly. So, I think I can't really answer it without getting into it. Donna's asked, she said that there's 251 listings for city centre for rent. I'd be worried about enough tenants, especially once Airbnb come on for long term. So Donna, what that 251 doesn't show you the new builds versus the old. And Christchurch, and the 80% of buildings that were destroyed in the CBD were mainly commercial. So there are still a lot of crappy old cold and old rentals in Christchurch. And of that 251, without doing an audit, I'd say 80% of them are old. And, people haven't been able to rent for the last 7 weeks. So it doesn't surprise me that there'll be a lot of short-term market. The Airbnb ones will already be coming onto the market. We don't recommend typically Airbnb. We also don't recommend furnished unless you're right in the core of the CBD. So in the world of 20 years of property ownership, this COVID-19 will be seen in 10 years' time or 5 years' time as a blip of property ownership. So of the 251, I would encourage you to count up the second-hand versus the new, and most of them will be second-hand, and a lot of them will be fresh Airbnbs hitting the market, and they'll be furnished. But right now, the market that we're in is unfurnished long-term rentals. Kevin's asked if the wall is flammable. No, Kevin. Walls can't be flammable because that would breach the building regulations. So no, they don't build flammable walls. I've never seen that one before. What's another one? Greg's asked what one-bedroom units are still available. Greg, they're on our website. You can look at our availability list. For a first home buyer, what suburbs of Christchurch are best to invest in? Great question. And for me, it's the ones that make most rental sense, because even though it's your first home, you're more than likely going to move out of it within the next 2 years. So we don't call it your first home, we call it your first investment. And it is your first home, so it's your first home investment. So the suburbs that you should buy are the ones that rent. And that's pretty much every deal on our website, because we've picked suburbs which are the most popular from a rental point of view. They have the highest yields and expected to grow. So don't get fussy on your first home, because you won't last there for long. Andy's asked, is that the only project we have in Christchurch? No, Andy, we've got lots of projects in Christchurch, but I'd need 2 hours to go through all of them. And you can talk to any of our team. Please just fill out your details on the website and they'll call you. But yeah, we've got lots of projects, but I could go on all night with them. What else have we got? Oh, the other insurance. Why didn't I talk about insurance? Thank you very much, Gareth. Okay, we had a client the other day and they said, oh, I understand I can't get insurance in Christchurch. And that's not true. That was in the newspaper about 5 years ago. In fact, the hardest place to get insurance in New Zealand at the moment is actually Wellington. Insurance, in fact, I got insurance. I'll be getting insurance tomorrow for a property that's broken in Christchurch that's secondhand that I want to buy as a future home, and I'll rent it in the short term, but it's not an investment property, it's a future home. We're going to use it as a batch if we buy it. So the myth of insurance, I don't know how it can still carry on to 2020. But when people hear that you can't get insurance in Christchurch, it's so out of date, it's not funny. It's like saying that Richie McCaw's still the All Black captain. Actually, that'd be worse than that. It'd be like saying that that Sean Fitzpatrick is still the All Black captain. Insurance in Christchurch is well and truly issued all the time. And if anything, it's probably cheaper now than most cities around the country, because new builds come with new foundation solutions and land remediation that's been fixed. And, the whole, it's amazing how many people don't understand that Christchurch has actually been rebuilt. It was 9 years ago, that major earthquake. And that's shown in body corporate rates. And I'll tell you something about body corporate fees in Wellington versus Christchurch. They'll be a lot lower now here in Christchurch than Wellington, because of the earthquake risk and the information that the insurance industry gained from the Christchurch earthquake is now being Wellington and other old complexes and other cities are being penalised for them. So, yeah, good question though. I'm glad somebody mentioned insurance because I would have kicked myself if I hadn't mentioned that. Alison's asked me, would we just buy new? Well, I bought an old home. The Property Factory only does new. We believe that there's a massive underestimation of second-hand cost ownership, cost to own, and maintenance. And this government is moving all the time to put more and more cost on landlords with old homes. So before you buy old, be very careful that you look at the real cost to run that property. Like buying a crappy old car because it was a good deal, and then forgetting that you've got to keep the engine going and the tyres going and the whole machine going. So we advocate new at the moment. We may change one day in the future, but I can't see it happening anytime soon because it's not economical generally to buy old property. How old is old? Yeah, Alison, great question. Typically 10. The whole building industry learned a lot from Christchurch's major earthquake in 2011. And don't get me wrong, there were houses that were built before that earthquake that are still safe and good. But a lot of things changed in the last 10 years, double glazing mandatory, insulation, ventilation. Well, we haven't made that mandatory yet with ventilation, which is why those Fletcher's units are so good. They've got an airflow system built into the product. But on average, we say 10 years. So yeah, somebody's asked, will we be advertising 3 and 4 bedroom house and land? Yes, we will, and we desperately need some. I've been looking at a lot, but I guess at the moment we've been sort of focusing on yield, but we are going to change that. We're going to put some house and land packages up on our website soon. Why don't I buy old homes for renting? For that whole maintenance cost thing, Alison, and insurance on old is going to get higher, etc. So what else have we got? Oh, Cliff's asked about the apartments, the townhouses at Fletcher's. So the 2 bedrooms are up and down. The 1 bedrooms, there's one on each floor, ground floor and first floor. There's only 2 blocks of 1 bedrooms. That's the southern block and the northern block. Everything else is 2 bedroom. So just, but you can see that once you jump on the website. Roy's asked me what I think about Rolleston. Rolleston is one of the fastest growing suburbs in the country, but right now it's catching up. Supply got massively over demand for a period there. Builders rushed out there. Sections were so cheap. So it's a great location. But the last time we measured it, the supply was still too great and it wasn't a smart place to buy at the time. Alison said, what about the university? Yeah, and we've got a project next to the university, Alison. So if you're interested in that, give one of our team an email. 2 bedroom and 3 bedroom townhouses, brand new, less than the cost of a second-hand property in the same location. So, yep, we can help you there. I think we've had pretty much every question answered. I'll leave the screen open for a bit longer, and I'll keep an eye on the questions. But if anyone wants anything else, just contact our team. Send us an email. If you email me on the email that you get from me, it does get answered. So yeah, we want to help. And Alison, the other thing we do, if people want something specific, we're getting close to having somebody to actually go and hunt for a deal for you. So yeah, talk to one of our team and we'll explain more about that service, but that's not on yet, it's coming. Okay, we've still got a few people online, so I'm just going to mute myself and just have a bit of a read and see if I can see any other questions popping up. I'm going to wrap up in a sec. We just had a couple more questions I thought I'd read out to everyone. Gareth, you've asked if we've got anything in the pipeline for Wellington with 2 to 3 bedrooms. Yes, we have. The reason we haven't got anything in Wellington at the moment is that the price has just been a bit too high. But yeah, we're going to get some new projects coming up in Auckland and Wellington, and some house and land in Christchurch. So Lara and I will be busy over the coming weeks to get those, because we don't just stick a property on our website. We do about 40 hours of due diligence on it, including drone footage and photo footage and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, we will be getting those up there. So don't buy anything anytime soon, Gareth. We'll make sure we can help you. So I'm going to wrap it up there, team. Hopefully that was informative. And I guess the big picture here for us is this was a focus on Christchurch, not because I live here. We moved here for personal reasons. The commercial story in Christchurch, I'm going to be busy for the next 10 years. And it's only going to get busier. It's going to get more like Wellington. It's in terms of population in that CBD area. You know, prices are just too cheap in our opinion. And as much as we still believe you should always buy property right across the country, Auckland, Hamilton, Wellington, you should still buy in those locations. If you haven't got a Christchurch property in your portfolio, you're not going to get it any cheaper than what is going on right now. They're renting now, they're cash flow positive. Why wouldn't you? That's my view. I'm a landlord in Christchurch, and that was before I moved here. And I'm acquiring more at the moment. As I said, I was doing due diligence on a deal today. So from a location perspective, I can't beat the drums any louder. And if you've got property in Christchurch, cool, let's get you a good one in Auckland, Wellington, and Hamilton. So one's not better than the other. We believe that you need in all locations. So without any further ado, I am going to actually going to pause off and pause myself and then sign off. Oh my gosh, it's been a long week actually. Yeah, there's no more COVID-19 lying around reading books for us. And some of my colleagues in the industry were saying the same thing. So real estate's back. Well, had never gone, but it's busy. And all the agents are doing the right thing with gloves and sprays and social distancing, etc. So yeah, get out there and check these things out, and do not be afraid to jump on a plane. In the scheme of the cost of the transaction, a plane ride is bugger all. So I hopefully will see you at some point around one of our projects. Because if you come to Christchurch, we'll take you through a couple if you want to have a look at other things to compare them to. So yeah, I will sign off. Take care, keep safe, and yeah, let's hope that we don't see any more outbreaks of this horrible virus over the coming weeks when we go down to level 2. Take care.